Well, welcome back. Hopefully you had a great first day of school. How do you think the first day went, Mrs. Bray?
I think it went fantastic. Everybody seemed happy. Everybody was following rules. I think it was great.
In fact, everything was organized. It seemed like everybody got to class on time. Lunch went well.
Yeah, they might have been a little tired from having to wake up so early, but other than that, I think it was great.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in today to our second edition of Things That You Need to Know to Be Successful at Matthews High School. By now, hopefully, you should have received a copy of your student handbook. This was something that was given to you, and I strongly advise you. What about you, Mrs. Bray? Do you think they need to read this from cover to cover?
Yes, I would read over it carefully.
And what we're going to do today is kind of go through and highlight some things that normally we get questions about, and hopefully we can explain some things so that you will be able to make good decisions while you're here at Matthews High School. And the first thing that we're going to talk about today is something that I have a really interesting feeling that it's going to be a hot topic, the dress code.
All right, yeah, we mentioned that yesterday, but we're just going to touch on it again this morning.
Well, one of the big adjustments, and I heard this yesterday, were about sweatbands. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so as far as sweatbands go, nothing that's going to cover up your head, nothing that's going to come around your forehead. If it's a headband that is simply used to hold your hair back, that is acceptable. But anything else on your head, not allowed.
So that includes bandanas. They can't use those, right?
Exactly. I got a lot of questions about earbuds and beats and when they can use them and when they cannot. And so just to be clear on that one, that is not allowed in the hallway at all, and that's simply for safety purposes. As far as the classroom goes, you're going to need to take that direction from your teacher. Your teacher will give you clear guidelines of when it's okay to use your cell phone and your earbuds and when it's not.
One of the things we want you to understand, it's not that we don't want you to enjoy music, because Mrs. Bray and I, we both love music. However, it's a safety issue when you're walking the hallways and you have earbuds in, because you never know. Let's say we had something that happened, an emergency, an announcement was being made. You wouldn't hear it if you had your earbuds or your beats on. So let's keep doing a great job of not wearing those during class changes and other inappropriate times. Let's also talk about Snuggies and blankets, because sometimes it gets a little cold in here.
Yes, it does. But we're not going to allow Snuggies and blankets at school. That's just not appropriate. What is appropriate would be a sweater or a jacket.
All right, and let's also take a look at shorts and tops, and especially for our young ladies, that might be a little bit of a challenge. Can you help us out?
Well, and our gentlemen too. I did notice some guys who had questionable shorts on today. We're looking at 5-inch inseam. So you think about a 3x5 index card. If you put that index card up by your leg, then there should not be any index card hanging out below your shorts.
All right. Also, those spaghetti tops, ladies, I know it's still warm outside, but we can't wear those to school.
Yeah.
So again, if you have a shirt that's inappropriate, just put a sweater on. It'd probably feel better with the air conditioning, make you feel comfortable.
Just a reminder, if you're dressed inappropriately, we will ask you to go to the nurse and change. She has an array of t-shirts and whatnot that you could put on. So,
and sweatpants.
Yeah, just a reminder.
All right. I think we've covered dress code pretty much, but I strongly recommend, and it's located on page 14 of your student handbook, go through it in its entirety. Because one of the things that we're doing now, as you noticed today, we have staff members who are posted at certain locations in the building, and if we find inappropriate clothing, it's going to be addressed. So the next thing we need to talk about is coming to school. So it's kind of hard, though, getting off summer vacation, isn't it?
It is. Summer vacation mode is a real thing.
Now, one of the things that has changed this year, you remember last year we had a new policy about being absent from school, that you could bring a note in and you would be good to go. Our Commonwealth of Virginia has changed that law a little bit more. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay, so there's a big difference between what we call chronic absenteeism, right, and just being plain old absent.
Here's how that's going to work. Let's say, for example, you mysteriously are absent a lot from school. But even though you turned a note in, you still have to be disciplined for not coming to school. And that's not Mrs. Bray and myself. That's the law. What could happen is that if it still continues and you don't come to school enough, we might have to refer you to the court system. And that's not something we want to do.
Right. So I believe that number begins with 5 when we start keeping a very close eye on your school attendance. Begins with number 5. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
Again, it's in your student handbook, so please make sure. That is a big change from this year. And that also includes, let's say if you have someone that you know that might skip the same class all the time because they have a doctor's appointment, that's going to count towards being chronically absent. So make sure you don't put yourself in that predicament. Just a reminder, if you do not come to school, our Commonwealth of Virginia has some really strict rules and laws about not coming to school. If you start to miss at least 5 unexcused days from school, we have to start a process where we sit down with your parents and have to talk to you about the rules and the law about coming to school. And if it gets up to 7, you and your parents could end up taking a trip to court for not coming to school. So please make sure you do everything possible to be at school. Now, Ms. Bray, we got to make sure they understand that if you're really sick, don't come to school.
Exactly. But if you're not really sick, you need to be here because you can't learn if you're not here.
All right, what else we need to talk about today? Let's talk about tardies.
Let's talk about tardies. Okay, so in your handbook, you're going to find a place where it says if you are tardy 3 times, that equals into 1 absence. So you really want to watch those tardies.
And of course, that can be very critical when it comes to the end of the year and your teachers are calculating your final grades. So once again, make every effort to come to school and come to class. Let's talk about cell phones. A lot of you, like me, love having their phone. We both have iPhones, right?
Yes, correct.
However, there's a time and place when to use your phone. For example, it's okay to use your phone if you're doing actual research for a class. But if you're on Instagram, Facebook, and some other things that you shouldn't be, phone needs to be put away. Are they allowed to use their phones in between classes in the cafeteria?
They absolutely are. And as far as the classroom goes, you really need to follow whatever your teacher says. Your teacher's going to give you the guidelines for their particular class, and that's what you need to stick to. Sometimes cell phones may need to be put completely away. Other times they'll be allowed.
Now, a big change is going to be with study halls this year. You remember in the past, study hall was pretty much you did anything that you thought you could do for study hall. Sometimes you might have worked on assignments, sometimes you didn't. That's going to change this year. This year, our teachers have been instructed to make sure that everybody enrolled in the study hall is actually taking advantage of it. How do you think that's going to look, Mrs. Bray?
Well, I think that teachers will be doing regular grade checks to ensure that students are caught up with their work and not falling behind or don't have any missing assignments. I think they'll be monitoring cell phone use closely. I think they'll be just making sure the students are working.
And one thing that's going to change, you won't be able to sit in study hall and sleep. That's not going to be allowed anymore. Plus, you need to take advantage of that time. Okay?
All right, let's talk about the cafeteria. That went really well today.
I'm telling you, especially first lunch, that was a big group, but everybody was organized and friendly. But let's kind of give them some reminders about lunch.
All right, so just a few reminders. You need to eat at a table, okay, not sitting in the hall. Stay seated until that bell rings. If you need to get up and throw your trash away, of course, that's fine, but we're not going to be walking around the cafeteria or hanging out in the hallway for safety purposes. Again, if you need to leave, you can get a pass to run to the bathroom or the office or whatever it is that you need to do. What else?
And I think that pretty much covers the cafeteria. One of the things that's very important, if you ever met our daytime custodian, Mrs. Todd, she really works hard. So when you're finished eating, please make sure you clean your area up. That'll be really appreciated by her, and it shows that you respect and appreciate what she does for us each and every day.
I know one other thing. This has been a very big question today. Who can eat in the fishbowl?
Let's talk about that.
All right. So it is a senior privilege, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. All right. So if you're a senior, you're welcome to eat in the fishbowl if the weather is nice. If you are not a senior, this gives you something to look forward to when you are a senior.
So if you are not a senior and we catch you out there, we will ask you to go back into the cafeteria and eat your lunch.
What about senior privileges going to lunch early, Mr. Foster? Is that a thing?
Yes, it is. Seniors are allowed to leave classes no more than 2 minutes before the bell rings for their respective lunch block. However, the expectation is that you go to the cafeteria, not wander the hallways.
All right, well, I think we've covered all of our topics for today.
Yes, and once again, we will be taking advantage of these little segments to give you the rules and regulations of our school. But as always, if you have a question, ask your teacher, but always feel free to come to Mrs. Bray and myself, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. But once again, enjoy another great day at Matthews High School, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Take care.